All right. We did it. We did it.
Super Bowl
Yay!
60 champions. Oh my
Yay!
goodness.
Nice. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's
We are the
freaking
best. We are world champs. We're the best around. Sadly, Brody's not here to be extra confident, extra over the top. But like we've been saying, boys, we're the best team in the league. We are world champions. We are Super Bowl champions. Fatty, what's your immediate reaction to be able to say you are a Super Bowl champion?
Yeah, woke up today feeling like a champion. Honestly, it's so nice. It was such a poetic season. Best season statistically for the Seattle Seahawks in their 50th year anniversary. So it's been great to follow this team. There's so many different characters and narratives, and yesterday wasn't what I don't think any of us really necessarily expected, but it was still a great game, and I am beyond overjoyed for the 12s and also the team as well. Just flat out dominance.
Yeah, I mean, the game might not have been what we expected, but at the same time, I think we were kind of dumb for not expecting it to be more like that. I mean, we did kind of allude to it, like the Seahawks. If we were going to win, it was going to be our defense, and that was exactly what happened yesterday. Where, dude, the Patriots just looked like they were dead. I don't care they got 2 touchdowns. Like, dude, that was freaking awesome. Watching our defense just step on their throat over and over again. On Twitter, I tweeted out after the first sack. I tweeted, Drake gets sacked May. And I thought it'd be funny to say that, every time he gets sacked. And then by sack like 4 or 5, I thought it was getting kind of dead. But I just had to keep retweeting. Drake got sacked yet again, May. Drake got sacked too many times to count, May. And it was kind of just a story of the night where, dude, I think we're finally getting national recognition for how good this defense is. Like, I feel like the whole world knew we were good and we were starting to get credit for it, but it was still like the Seahawks defense are good, but they aren't no Texans. But there was always, a
Right.
but and then something afterwards. And everything I see today is like, dude, this Seahawks team were legit. Our defense. I mean, I was seeing people tweet out and talk about one of the best we've ever seen. I don't know if we would necessarily say that, but I would say, considering how young our defense is and how many young stars we got, we definitely are working towards that way. And to start off with a Super Bowl in year 2 of the Mike Macdonald era, that is as much as we could ask for.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, props to the Patriots making it to the Super Bowl. It's not an easy feat. There's only 2 teams at the end of the day that play for the Super Bowl. I think it's also just a byproduct, like you said, they were fatigued. It was a byproduct of playing, the Chargers, Texans, and then the Broncos in harsh weather conditions and just, weathering the storm and getting there. There were some questions maybe if Drake May was potentially hurt, but it didn't really matter in the sense that the D-line that we were shitting on all during our preview episode decided to come out and play and really abuse Will Campbell and Morgan Moses all day. I mean, everybody was getting back there, even undrafted rookie Riley Mills, who played 3 games this year rehabbing a torn ACL. He sacked Drake May through an offensive guard. I mean, this was just an utter dominance in regards to pressure. This is something that we thought maybe the Patriots were going to be doing with Sam Darnold to force a couple turnovers. And, I think a big part about the game as, we go into the nitty gritty and who's that and who's that. I mean, I think it was more of a game that we have seen in the regular season where we go into halftime only scoring field goals, i.e. the Falcons game, where it's 6-6, and then we come out and make the necessary adjustments. But, for the people who bet Jackson Smith and Jigba touchdown or yardage props, I do apologize, but I guess we just didn't necessarily need to utilize him there. It was just very off-brand for the Seahawks. I thought that after the 49er game in the divisional playoff that our offense kind of kicked it into a new gear, but they kind of reverted to what the story was all year of just putting up minimal points, but having that excellent defense to back you up.
I feel like it was also a byproduct of we didn't need to, right? Like you can kind of feel it the whole game that our defense was strangling them, whereas like, why would we change what we're doing? Why would we put the ball at risk? You know? And I think that's definitely Mike Macdonald's mindset, maybe not Kubiak's as much, but it's like, dude, we're strangling this team. If we give up a turnover, we throw a pick, we try to make the big play and it bites us in the butt. All that does is give them some momentum. And why would we do that when we have it all going our way?
Well,
One
also
guy,
with credit where credit's due with players like Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis in that secondary. They were really locking up our receivers down the field. There was double coverage. They started to jump routes. There was some pressure to get back to Sam, and just not necessarily sack him a ton, but also hurry him into a couple bad reads, some off balance throws. So I mean, credit to where it's due. I mean, they had it rolling on defense, but unfortunately, no one came to play for their offense. We didn't see Ramondre Stevenson or Travion Henderson break out in the running game. That wasn't expected, in my opinion, as now we are in game 28 straight of not allowing a 100-yard rusher. We didn't see Drake May really get mobile with his feet because we disguise blitz Eman Worry and Devin Witherspoon off the edge to really contain him at bay. And, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, that's just kind of a power of friendship type wide receiver core. There wasn't really an elite route runner there, just kind of a bunch of has-beens. So, the offense just couldn't keep up. But, Seattle should have been able to put them away. We should have been up 21-0 versus 9-0. Going into halftime, they did get the ball back. But it's all just about what great coaches do. And apparently the coach of the year, Mike Vrabel, didn't make any adjustments. They go 3 and out in under 30 seconds, and Mike McDonald dials up a touchdown drive. So, I mean, say what you want, but yeah, it was just a dominating win for Seattle. Great defense is boring. I understand that, but people need to give us credit.
ESPN said it after the game. Offense sells tickets, defense win championships. My whole day today is everyone being like, "Oh, do you enjoy the game last night?" And I was like, "Yeah, I enjoyed the game. Are you stupid? We won the Super Bowl. Like, don't ask dumb questions." They're like, it's a pretty boring game. And I was like, I could not care less about what the game looked like when we are raising the Lombardi at the end of the game. Like,
right.
If this game was going to look ugly and boring, Mike McDonald would be happy with that because ugly and boring is how Mike McDonald wants to win football games. And that's how we won this football game, right?
Yeah.
So, anyone complaining about the game being boring is the exact person that we said didn't want to invite to our Super Bowl party, who was excited for the commercials, excited to watch a halftime show, and this is their second game of the year they've watched, and the first was the second half of the Rams game. So
yeah, that from the top rope, J. Ross, I love it. Yeah, that was perfect. That's what I kept thinking is, man, we're kicking ass, but the public's going to say, this was a super boring Super Bowl because we're only kicking field goals. So I love the AJ Barner touchdown and Uchenna Nwosu getting the strip interception almost. They did rule it an interception, but also, Kenneth Walker, he was so close, but then that kind of phantom holding call took it away just to kind of even the odds a little bit. But dude, let's get into the nitty gritty.
Time out. Do you want to hear some more pain? This one I can say because this one has no one involved with the podcast.
Okay.
My friend who does bet texts me when AJ Barner scored and goes, "You'll never believe my dumb parlay." And I said, "You have Barner first touchdown?" His bet was Barner first touchdown, K9 touchdown. K9 bursts through. I stand up. I was screaming his name. And then you just see that flag animation come up. And I was like, dude, that is the biggest harpoon to the heart death. I was like, dude, that's just pure.
That's terrible. Yeah,
I don't know why you'd ever place that as a parlay, but still would have been a crazy hit. I guess clearly he knows something I don't because he was half a finger away from hitting. But nonetheless.
Right.
Insane. But I mean, I don't know. I think that this kind of proved what we were talking about, how it's kind of disrespectful, the fact that people were thinking the Patriots were going to – I know the money on Vegas was still in favor of the Seahawks, but I feel like I saw a ton of people online kind of just persuading people into thinking the Patriots had a legit chance the Patriots were going to win this game. And it was kind of just disrespectful to the Seahawks to compare this team to the Chargers with no offensive line and playoff Herbert. Stiddy. Like, what did the Patriots, the Texans with CJ Stroud? Sorry, Brody. CJ Stroud is buns this year. Like, the fact that they were getting compared to what we are is just insane to me.
I think the reason they made those comps is because they thought that they could infiltrate the Seahawks offensive line like they did the Texans offensive line. And obviously, CJ Stroud with 4 picks, we had a small sample size of Sam Darnold all time versus the Patriots 0-4. And, this was the infamous, he was seeing ghost game during, his second or third year with the Jets. But I think that, many experts and myself thought, the reason we could lose is if they pressure Darnold into making some mistakes. And you know what? I will never forget this Super Bowl as, waking up that morning and trying to figure out how to humbly think of different ways that we could lose that game. And I just could not find a singular.
That's exactly what I said. I was saying today, I said it on Friday throughout my day at work. And I was like, I was trying to figure out a way we lose this football game. And I couldn't think of a way. And that's what made me scared. Because I was like, how are we going to find a way to lose this football game? Because Seattle sports. And we didn't do it. And we lived up to what we all expected. The fact that we're a juggernaut. We're not the best team of all time. But when you end up tearing apart the stats, like this is one of the better teams in NFL history. And it's kind of just slept on because we started 3-2. And it's crazy that we went from there to where we are now. I mean, some uglier losses and
this team just kicked it into a high gear, and I'm trying to always pinpoint when that was, but if I had to go back, it has to be Thursday Night Football against the Rams, down 30-14. We honestly could have just tucked our tails and headed to the home locker room, but that comeback sparked something of champions. I mean, that championship mindset, finishing the year strong. Shout out Phillip Rivers for having us on the ropes during the season, because that was the last time we really were, really tested there. But obviously playing the Rams 3 times in a year, even playing the Niners or what have them, 3 times in the year, once on the road at the end of the year to clinch the 1 seed. It's just truly poetic, winning the Super Bowl in their stadium. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. But the 2026 Seahawks would be nowhere without the architect, Mike Macdonald, robbed of Coach of the Year, second-year head coach, third youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl at, I think he's 36. And
I believe he's 38, right? I think
38.
36.
Okay.
Yeah.
38. Got it. Okay. So 38. And, he was the mastermind behind all this. J. Ross, what are your thoughts of Mike Macdonald 2 years into his Seahawk era?
Well, he kind of broke the narrative. He broke what the NFL wants to be, which is young offensive head coaches. And people are calling him the Sean McVay defense, which is like, okay, I can see the comparisons, but whatever. But I believe I read the stat, he's the first defensive play calling coach to win the Super Bowl. I read that somewhere today. Didn't fact check it.
He's probably the first defensive play calling coach. I mean, I feel like Belichick called some of the defenses there.
Yeah, see, I think Belichick was the last defensive minded coach to win the Super Bowl, but Mike Macdonald's calling the plays. Supposedly he's the first to do that. I didn't fact check that, so we're gonna roll with that stat because that stat seems legit. But it's crazy, like the fact that he's in year 2. This guy stopped playing football in high school in 2014, almost quit coaching to be a stock market, finance bro. And now he's a Super Bowl champion at 38 with plenty of life left in him, a roster that can easily go on a run. Not easily. Actually, yeah, easily go on a run. And I mean, they were doing the news broadcast after the game, and I don't know the reporter's name and I won't disrespect them, but they were like, when we hired Mike Macdonald, I said to my co-host, who's this guy? And it's like, year 2, we're already world champs, and the piece of the team that won us the Super Bowl is the part that he had his hands all over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one thing to be a great play caller and a great scheme guy, but it also just takes another thing to, have that championship mindset and instill a culture. I mean, we see plenty of coaches who throw their hats in the ring as a first-year head coach, and the vibes just aren't there. I mean, Jonathan Gannon for, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, he was a great play caller for the Philadelphia Eagles. He comes in and hits us with who rode the bus here today type freaking press conference or team meeting. But, right when Mike Macdonald addresses his team, as a first-year head coach, the roster looked completely different than it does right now, with Geno and DK and such. And he's the one saying last year, we're going to be hosting the NFC Championship this year. Wins 10 games, misses the playoffs by a narrow margin. And what I love is just kind of to see the growth. Last year we played 3 games in 11 days and lost all 3 of them, versus what pulled us out of the 3-2 hole early this season was winning 3 games in 11 days. So yeah, just seeing the growth from year 1 to year 2, but just to know the instant success of Mike Macdonald and how he seriously turned the defense back into an elite level. I mean, we saw it with Pete Carroll, but this defense looks a lot different than the Legion of Boom, and it's in its own regard. I mean, the dark side, people are asking if the dark side is better than Legion of Boom, this and that. But I just give them both their flowers in their respective times. They're 2 completely different defenses with two completely different mantras. And I mean, Mike Macdonald, man, he's got to be a coach you got to love to play for. And I really hope that we keep it up on defense, of course, but also just maintaining that offensive consistency with Sam Darnold.
Well, I think so. Jake Bobo was talking about Mike Macdonald, and I think this sums it up perfectly. He's the type of guy he'd love to have a beer with, but he's also scared that he can cut him any day. And Mike Macdonald has built that relationship with the team. You can just tell the way they talk about how it's so different than the rest of the NFL, where the unity between the special teams, the offense, and the defense, it really is. Like, you can really see the ties between each group. And I feel like that's not as common in the NFL. You know what I mean? I feel like the ability to have you can really just tell, like, in all the post-game celebrations, when they say "I love you," I think they genuinely mean it. And it's
Right.
like, as dumb as that sounds, the family culture that he has built in year 2 and that sort of us versus the world mentality it's so evident. You see it every post-game press conference, even before today. It was all through the playoffs. You can just tell that these guys really care about playing with each other, and they care about playing for Mike Macdonald. And it's crazy because at 38, like, most of these guys, actually, I mean, literally every single guy on this roster had a far and away significantly way more impressive athletic career than Mike Macdonald. Like, this guy stopped playing in high school, right? Didn't even
Right.
play in college. And yet he finds a way to just be, I don't want to call him a leader of men, but he finds a way to really just unify this team. And it's
Right.
just insane to see. And I love to see it.
Yep. I mean, it's like you said, it's boring. It's very non-flashy. You see your Sean McVays and your Ben Johnsons of the league, but this guy is a guy who says, "Listen, we're going to stop them on defense, and then we're going to run the ball." And that couldn't have been done without the obvious duo of Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. But how about it? Super Bowl 60 MVP Kenneth Walker, the first running back since Terrell Davis in the 90s. He led our offense in a rather stagnant performance from the offense as a whole, but he was the one that kept us going, got us into field goal range. Like we said, almost got that touchdown, but what a performance by Kenneth.
This guy's going to make so much money.
Too much money.
So much money. And I mean, 135 yards on the ground, 26 in the air. And it was just like, the amount of times this guy gets hit at the line of scrimmage, or even, just bump backwards, and then just finds a way to get the edge and go for like 11 yards, blows my mind. And it's
Right.
just the way it just looks effortless. Like, I think it was the first play of the game where he had that run to the left, got the edge, and went for 11 yards. And I said out loud, I was like, he doesn't even look like he's running. Like, it looks like he's just running in slow motion, but the vision this guy has, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm excited
Absolutely.
that the whole nation finally sees that, but that's a bummer because the whole nation finally sees that, but he is, as of we speak right now, not a Seahawk. So that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. And I think a funny way to describe his performance, like you were saying, is Chris Collinsworth mentioned late in the game last night. I would love to track his yardage even when he's bouncing backward. It's almost like you got to hit him backwards so he can move forward. It's absolutely ridiculous. But his ability to, run east to west, he's just such a playmaker. He's got that Le'Veon Bell-esque vision where he can kind of just sit back, watch the line develop, and still have that quick movement. We've watched him kind of carry linebackers on their backs, put the defensive line on skates. He's got that downfield speed. He's just a perfect prototypical running back. I've been critical of him in the past due to, his injury prone, his proneness to injury, and, his ability to not necessarily be a power back. That's why I love the tandem of Charbonnet and Kenneth. And I think that's what John Schneider had as a vision with with Pete Carroll. Obviously, they were both Pete's draft picks as well. But yeah, I mean, as far as his offseason market, he is going to have many suitors. I'm hearing a lot of rumors that the Kansas City Chiefs are very interested to add that kind of dynamic playmaker to their offense. But, he's going to get obviously the money that he deserves. And it's just a matter of if the Seahawks necessarily want to allocate most of the open cap space that we rank top 5 in this offseason to Kenneth. So it's going to be interesting to see the commitment that we have.
I'm really scared because I mean this guy's gonna get the bag, and purely just like me thinking, like I'm so scared that some poverty team like the Titans or someone like that that has no reason to invest big money in a running back right now is
Right.
gonna throw the bag at him. It's gonna be something he can't say no to. And then realistically, the reason that Kenneth Walker, like you said, was able to have a playoff stretch like this and was able to perform so well with Sharp going down is the fact that we've had Zach Charbonnet all year. Like Kenneth Walker, like you said, super injury prone. And it scares me if he go to a team where he'd be running like this over a full season.
Yeah.
Running backs and injuries just don't go hand in hand. That's how you end quickly. And I think that people might not take into consideration, especially non-Seahawks fans who don't really know his injury history, the fact that he benefits so much from being able to split these carries. And he has the ability to have big games like this because he is fresh than he should be. I was going to say fresh, but no one's fresh this time of the year. But he's fresher than he should be for Super Bowl week compared to a lot of these teams that have a real bell cow back.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Like I said, that's going to be the biggest question mark this offseason. It's really going to see, if we re-sign him, is it going to be the same for Reek Woolen and any other expiring contract? So we will have to see, but that is another topic for another episode. So right now, let's shift it to the man himself, Sam Darnold, the first quarterback in the 2018 QB draft class to win a Super Bowl. Obviously, we all know the narratives. His 5th team in 6 years, whatever. He was labeled a bust in New York, couldn't get it done. Everyone was waiting for him to kind of fall back down to earth, especially during the playoffs. And, he proved all the doubters wrong, and now he's hoisting a Lombardi. It might not have been his best performance in the Super Bowl, going, not necessarily as accurate as we'd want and missing some key throws to maybe skew the score a little bit more. But the fact of the matter is his performance in the NFC Championship was the reason that we were back in Santa Clara, and he had a hell of a season as a quarterback of the Seahawks first year, and he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. So, J. Ross, what do you think about Sam Darnold, not only last night, but just in the year?
I just want to start off this by, you always got to say thanks. And I just want to say thank you to the Minnesota Vikings for allowing us to have your quarterback, leads you to one of the best regular seasons in your franchise's history. Can't perform well in the playoffs, lets him come right over to Seattle and immediately wins the Super Bowl. So I just want to, I'm thankful for that opportunity. Vikings looking out for us like that. But I mean, this is the best story in the NFL this year. Like, this guy was a bust. Everyone was talking all year about when is Sam Darnold going to turn back into Sam Darnold? When is he going to turn into a pumpkin? He sees ghosts, all these things. And he didn't. Okay. There was that one blimp in the radar against the Rams 3 times, actually 2 times, but whatever. But we're Super Bowl champions. And okay, it wasn't his best performance, but like we kind of said before the game, the Seahawks didn't really put us in a spot where Sam had to make big plays. And so I think a lot of the mindset for the offense was, just to minimize the risk, minimize the possible blow up plays. And it's funny because in the, 18-hour pregame show that I watched most of on NBC before the game, one of the things they asked him was, when do you balance playing it safe versus sling it? And he's like, well, Kubiak's taught me to protect the ball, but if a guy's open, I'm still going to sling it. And besides that one deep shot to Shaheed, like, it felt like he was definitely protecting the ball more today. And I wonder if that kind of came into play for some of those misses, like that JSN miss where he overthrew him. I wonder if it was some of that mindset of like, I'd rather this be 2 yards overthrown and hit the ground than underthrow it by a yard and be a pick 6.
Yeah.
And that's not what we saw from early in the career Sam Darnold. It just shows that evolution and why he's a stud, and people can now stop making Sam Darnold memes because our quarterback's a Super Bowl champion and yours isn't Buffalo Bills or Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I think this game and this season fully cements Sam Darnold as a top 10 quarterback in the league. I fully anticipate him to stay on pace this next season. So it's just going to be very interesting to see. I mean, it's not like he had a Justin Jefferson. I mean, he had JSN, but a lot of it is I think they grew together. Let's not forget Sam Darnold threw for 4,000 yards last year as a member of the Vikings. So it wasn't like he made JSN or JSN made him. I mean, they really grew together, and this offense really just took a collective step forward. AJ Barner, Cooper Kupp providing his expertise in the receiving room, Jake Bobo early on in the season, Torrey Horton, the acquisition of Rashid Shaheed. These kind of moves are the ones that when you look back at it, won you the Super Bowl. But just as important as offense and how the defense were built, it's also great to have the two highest paid players in special teams with Jason Myers and Michael Dixon. I mean, talk about the difference that they had not only in this game, but all year.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have invested the most money in special teams in the NFL. And that was proved right this season, this playoff run. Because, I mean, Jason Myers there are people that legitimately out there thought he should have won MVP last night. And I'm one of them because I wanted to post those clips earlier when I was making all those 80% sarcastic jokes talking about Jason Myers being our MVP. The most subtle, secret, highest scoring player in NFL history. Most slept, like when Tomlinson did that, it was all over everywhere. Jason Myers just snuck right under the radar on that one. But it really proved itself as important because, I mean, some of the biggest moments just across special teams in general for this run here, Rashid Shaheed, that kick return to start the game against 49ers really set the tone. That muffed punt when we played at the Rams, it just shows those are two teams that didn't prioritize special teams, and it bit them in the butt. The Seahawks made it important, made it a big part of our identity, and that is a huge reason why we lifted the Lombardi. We make field goals, and I don't know any stats, so I'm not going to list them out, but the amount of times where Dixon just pinned them inside the 8-yard line, and
Absolutely.
that line drive punt at the end of the game, like, dude, what? Like, so slept on. Another stud that is no one has heard of this guy unless you're a Seahawks fan. And if you're a Seahawks fan and have experienced what I've experienced, you know that he's the voice of when you're on hold for the Seattle Pro Shop. So very much overhearing his voice, but I still love and appreciate him.
Yeah, no, very interesting tactic for Coach of the Year Mike Vrabel to call like a field goal block on that last punt just to see if they can change the tides. But Michael Dixon, obviously understands the pressure, goes in and just kind of boots a line drive, but still has that finesse of, it's really talented being able to punt the ball one direction, let alone having some backspin on it and making the ball rotate in all these different ways. So yeah, Michael Dixon, huge props to you, but also Jason Myers for being reliable for about 95% of the season, from 0 yards to 68 yards. I mean, he truly was a huge part of this team, and I'm glad that they're paid respectively. But
it's crazy. Wait, let's back it up. It's crazy that episode 1, that was one of the critiques that we were talking about because that was following when Myers missed. It was the Rams, right? He missed that long kick, and Brody was questioning. Sorry to shoot shots at Brody here, but he was questioning if Myers has the leg to be, the elite kicker. And Myers went out and completely proved that and almost won a Super Bowl MVP doing that, which is insane. And on special teams, okay, Shaheed may not have been the most electric on the offensive side of the ball. He had his big plays, but was not as involved as we thought. His return against the Rams on Thursday Night Football could be the moment you look at our season turning around, like you said earlier. Like that punt return alone could not, obviously a lot of things happen, but who knows? He doesn't return that. We lose that game. We don't get a first round bye in the playoffs, and who knows what happens from there.
Right.
It really is crazy how much, and it's such an overlooked part of the game. And I think the Seahawks, I wonder if teams will sort of mimic the Seahawks a bit in the fact that we put so much money into special teams, if especially other non Sean McVays, not offensive gurus, sort of like the other style of coaches will prioritize that more as a spot where they can get a leg up on these guys.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a difference maker. So that is for sure. You know what I loved is watching the pregame coverage, watching all the coverage leading up once the Super Bowl matchup was set. Was all of our rivals having to talk nice about us and then also just hating on us. What I found ironic was Puka Nakua and Fred Warner were on a podcast together. I think it was probably Fred Warner's podcast, but they talk about, oh, who would you rather win? And they go, oh, just like all other NFL players, I don't want either team to win. But Puka Nakua doubled down and said, I love Cooper Kupp so much, bro. Just go win the whole thing. And then said, hey, let's not act like I'm rooting for the Seahawks either. So they shared a moment of hatred for the Seahawks like they're not crosstown rivals, like they weren't just in the NFC Championship against each other. So the irony is loud. Puka does what he does best, obviously not being a wide receiver, but just being an online Twitter warrior, goes to X. Goes to X, tweets the laughing emoji about Sam Darnold. And within moments, Ernest Jones has his best defensive play of the year, quote tweeting that and said, aren't you home, goofy ass? And just checked him right then and there. And that's they're former teammates with each other. So, it's just laughable how pathetic people can be. And especially when you're talking about rivalries and stuff, I understand, having a rival, but when it's all said and done, you don't double down when you're on the couch in Cancun.
So the pregame, I didn't really let it piss me off because, we were playing the Super Bowl and these guys are in suit and ties talking about the game they wish they were playing in. But you could just tell how pissed off Fred Warner was being forced to hype up the Seahawks. And it was like, even when he talked good about them, he was so reluctant. Like, it was like he was following it up with and it was like, I'm sitting there, we're watching the pregame board. Shanahan said the Hawks were going to win his prediction, but Fred Warner saying all week on the media that Patriots by 50. And then the other two on the panel, I can't remember. It was Jason Garrett, which was like, whatever.
Yeah, and Jason McCourty, former Patriot.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so 3 guys in this panel just blatantly hate the Seahawks. And guess what? They're being forced to hype us up. So this is pretty freaking awesome. But as you can see on my shirt, the Seahawks motto, we did not care, which is pretty sick. And it's just, dude, it was the whole day yesterday was just, I want to put it in a bottle and keep it and take a sip of it every morning and just have that be my motivation for my whole life. Because after we won the game yesterday, usually when I'm watching any of the Seattle teams, I'm definitely more of like, when the big moment hits, rip a yes or something like that. Like, I definitely let it sneak out over here and there. When we won the game, I just found myself sitting there smiling. Like, I was just like, I don't know if it was because it felt like we were going to win all game, but that last play and seeing the clock hit 0, I was just like sitting there. No noise, just
right. Well, yeah, I got very hyped watching the trophy presentation, but what I felt last night and even most of today is just that adrenaline release. Football is a very intense sport where passionate fans are going to be watching every down, reading every injury report, prepping for, like we do, for games every week on a week-to-week basis. And it's just a very highly competitive sport. When you go and look at, sports like soccer and baseball, you get a long break in between. And with baseball, it's just so consistent. It's just every other game. But, it's just so, it takes so much more of a toll when your team, goes through all the 18 weeks of the regular season. They make the playoffs. They make it all the way to the Super Bowl. That's adding another month and a half to your fandom. And right now, I'm just like, I don't want to do anything from now until the World Baseball Classic, just so I can just relax my mind. It's just a weird, euphoric feeling. But yeah, I was so hyped to see Mike McDonald holding up that Lombardi and seeing Sam as well, and them embracing each other. Mike making it a point to have as many players hold it as possible from the get-go. It's just great. So
he said after the game, it was pretty cool. He was talking about in the locker room how many fingerprints he could see on Lombardi, and saying that really stuck out to him because it showed how many guys touched the trophy. Like we were saying, this team, it's so dumb just sounding, but it's like, it's crazy how much of a team this team is. Like, it really does feel like this team.
This team, period.
Yeah, all they need. One thing So I don't know if this is the moment he meant, but Ernest Jones after the game, he was on with the ESPN and he was talking about that moment, and it was in that Rams game. But he just talked about that moment where it really showed that they were defending themselves. And all I thought about is, did you hear about the story in the locker room with the Rams talking about Cooper Cup?
No.
Okay, this was kind of kept under wraps, and a couple outlets brought it up, and players have been like not denying it, but not saying they know too much about it. But supposedly, in that Rams Seahawks game, the Thursday night football game, at halftime, when they were going down the elevators going to the locker room,
Oh,
some of
yes.
the Rams coordinators, I'll keep the story going for listeners.
Yes, for sure.
Some of the Rams coordinators were basically just talking trash about Cooper Cup, saying how he's washed, all this stuff. And Seahawks coaching staff heard about it. One thing led to another, and it turned into a big hallway brawl, fighting literally just over Cooper Cup. And that just sums up this team. And the fact that we went on to then go have the comeback we did to win the game, and then Cooper Cup, however many months later, to be our leading receiver in the Super Bowl, like that just kind of sums up this Seattle Seahawks team.
For sure, for sure. And Ernest was the first to defend Sam Darnold after a 4 interception loss to the Rams. And Sam was the first to thank the defense when winning the Super Bowl. He easily could have grabbed the mic and said, "Yeah, all you haters, I proved you guys wrong. I'm the best. I'm the GOAT." But instead, his first thing was very team forward mindset, thanking the defense, thanking his offensive line and the running game and the receivers blocking, down the field. It's just amazing. And this team, when you look back, is truly, I guess if I had to rank, it's the second best Seahawks team of all time. But we already have one departure, and that is offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak confirmed last night that he will be going to Vegas. He was kind of pressured by NFL Network to confirm it. He was like, I'm just going to enjoy it. Enjoy tonight. And they go, oh, okay, still nothing. He's like, well, hell yeah, I'm going to Vegas. I mean, y'all already fucking know that. So Clint came in as a first year OC for us and really kind of just changed the entire dynamic. And it was something that Mike desperately needed with the absolute catastrophic failure that was Ryan Grubb. So it's great for him. It's a great opportunity with him in Vegas, and we wish him nothing but the best. Jay Ross, without going too much into the weeds this offseason, what are your thoughts about how Clint Kubiak did this season and what you think the Seahawks should go for next?
Dude, I mean, there's no need to even like go into the weeds. Like, we're Super Bowl champions. We were a stud. We took a bunch of guys who, at the end of the day, we talked about it a couple episodes ago. Thinking back coming into this year, like, yeah, obviously with hindsight, we now realize that Sam Darnold, 4,000 yards passing plus, stud. JSN, offensive player of the year. Kenneth Walker, all of a sudden one of the best running backs in the league. But if we go back to the start of this year, no one outside the Pacific Northwest was saying this about any of those guys I just listed. Sam
Absolutely.
Darnold was being viewed as a one season, fluke. No one thought he was going to be as good as he was after those last two games in Minnesota. JSN was good, but he was a wide receiver 2 behind DK. And then no one really knew about Kenneth Walker's game unless you went to Michigan State. And now Kenneth Walker might be one of, if not the most sought after free agent as of right now with everything filming.
For sure.
We'll say. And JSN won offensive player of the year, and Sam Darnold, like you said, top 10 quarterback in the league. All three of these guys had one common factor that happened this year. And Kubiak is that common factor. Like, that guy was success. As for what the Hawks do next, I have no idea. And that is one of the downside to winning a Super Bowl is you lose your coordinators, and we're now behind the 8 ball in terms of getting a new guy because a lot of those names have already found jobs elsewhere. Like, you saw everyone talking about how big of a deal it was that the Eagles couldn't find their OC and it took them so long. And we're definitely been, we've heard the rumblings. We've definitely done some searching, but
Right.
we're just now starting our search. So I don't even want to throw out a name because I don't know what really is an option for the Seahawks. Do you really know anything or have
I
any?
mean, I definitely think a couple names come to mind. I honestly don't remember them off the top of my head, but they are a lot of there are a lot of internal candidates that are potentially on Clint Kubiak's staff that he might not bring over to Vegas. Because I made a good point to someone who was a Raiders fan or who is a Raiders fan. he said, oh, we're going to be taking your whole staff. They might take the whole defensive staff because they don't really necessarily do anything with Mike Macdonald calling the defense. So he might bring over the defensive staff. Or, hypothetically, if you're the quarterback's coach at the Seattle Seahawks and Clint Kubiak calls you and wants to be, offers you the offensive coordinating job at Vegas, or Mike Macdonald says, hey, we want to hire you internally, next man up, you're calling the plays on offense, what are you going to pick? So I think that's an attractive internal hire job to stick with it, keep that system there. But if not, I think a lot of people forget, a lot of offensive coordinators who might have gotten demoted or fired or switched teams, went into, passing game coordinators, run game coordinators. And the biggest thing about that is we can go to any team and say, hey, you want to be our offensive coordinator? It's immediate promotion, and they can take it with no questions asked. So we do really have a huge board for the picking. Like you said, it was probably discussed internally already, knowing that we're eventually going to be losing Clint Kubiak. But I have no worries whatsoever. And like you said, I just want to enjoy the Super Bowl. But what a year for the Seattle Seahawks. What a year for our podcast already.
Dude, I was after the game, I was watching one of the news stations and they were talking about the Kubiak leaving, right? And they're like, oh, Clint Kubiak, as we all know, going to be the Raiders coach, but you really just got to let it sink in today. Like, Super Bowl champion. And, Clint Kubiak going to the Raiders. Who knows if he'll win another Super Bowl? You never know if you're coming back. And then he went to go, like, compare other players, like, on the Seahawks that would be coming back, and just talked around the fact that, like, we'll probably be back to a Super Bowl at some point, and then just circle back to, but Clint Kubiak, he's a Raiders coach, so he's not making it to a Super Bowl. And I was like,
the media loves to hate us. There was plenty in the media that said we were going 5-12 and missing the playoffs and taking a huge step back with Sam Darnold and crew. And, it's just like the Seahawks are great when it comes to proving people wrong. So just what a year. We will for sure be recapping a little bit with Brody as he returns next week.
Speaking of that, timeout. Let's add Brody. We'll throw him in right here. Clip. He sent me his reaction over to put in here. So right now, here's Brody's thoughts on the game.
Seattle Seahawks did it, bro. We actually did it. We actually won the Super Bowl. It's still so hard to believe. It's like we're in a fairy tale. You know what I mean? Like, the season is so storybook. I mean, literally nobody had us winning our division even. Most people didn't even have us taking second place. Most people had us behind the Arizona Cardinals or third place. Out of nowhere, win 14 games, most in a single season in Seahawks franchise history. Get the first seed in the NFC, dismantle the Niners, beat the Rams on the way to a huge Super Bowl win. From the very beginning, it was just Seahawks domination. Even when we were picking up huge gains, but only coming away with 3. Of course, it was like 12-0 at some point, but eventually found a way to really get home at Drake May, force him into multiple turnovers, leading to touchdowns, and eventually got way out of control. Basically, we shut them out basically the entire game until it was essentially over. Just an outstanding performance from the Seahawks, and it was just another typical Seahawks game. The story of the Seahawks all season has been that mob ties, that dark side defense, absolutely dismantling the Patriots, and shout out to them. They cemented themselves as a legendary defense, an all-time defense, no doubt. To be able to win a Super Bowl like that on the back of mostly your defense, it's really cool. It's it's reminiscent of the Legion of Boom, of course. Shout out to Sam Darnold. You had so many people, so many fans across all the teams. A lot of fans in the Seattle fan base are like, Sam Darnold's not the guy. You can't win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. And guess what, man? We won the fucking Super Bowl with Sam Darnold and put away all of the Sam C's ghosts. Had a perfectly clean postseason, no turnovers at all. Yeah, he makes a couple tight window throws in this game, but nothing that was completely egregious like we'd seen in the past. He put the ghost to bed. He won a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion, a franchise quarterback. That's cemented. There's no debating. You can't even have a discussion about this anymore. Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker completely getting unleashed in the postseason. And, it sucks that Charbonnet couldn't have been out there to finish this ride with us, but he had a huge season as well. I mean, double-digit touchdowns this season is very, very important for us. But, Kenneth Walker, I hope he stays. I really do. I mean, he completely unleashed himself as a true, borderline top 5 NFL running back this season. And, he's going to command a big contract, whether it's with us, whether it's somewhere else. But ultimately, he got the job done here. He's forever a Seahawk legend, just as is Clint Kubiak, who will be taking the Raiders head coaching job. He's a legend of Seattle as well. Always welcome here. And, man, this season will forever be remembered as the dark side, the mob ties defense, you know. But this Seattle Seahawks offense, man, without them, we wouldn't be in the Super Bowl either. The Rams game was, you know, Sam Darnold's legacy game, and Sam Darnold's legendary game, and, you know, Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. I mean, what a season for him. Seriously, the best Seahawks receiving season in Seahawk franchise history, man. And, you know, caps it off with a ring. It's truly special. You know, for those of you that are going to point out his stat line as if we all didn't watch him, you know, have a 80, 70-yard touchdown overthrown and potentially a touchdown underthrown. Jackson Smith and Jigba had a huge impact, whether or not he had 100-plus receiving yards and multiple touchdowns. He was commanding so much attention. They had to drape Christian Gonzalez on him all game, which opened up a lot of opportunities for Cooper Kupp, who had a big game. You know, Kenneth Walker in the passing game. You know, Shaheed even had a couple grabs. A.J. Barner, you know, stuff like that. You know, it goes to show how valuable JSN is to this team. And shout out JSN, even if the stats weren't there. But the only thing that troubled us this game was the Seahawks offensive line. It's like we had no time to throw. Sam Darnold was constantly under pressure, and it affected his game for sure. But, you know, every QB in the NFL gets affected heavily under pressure. I mean, you know, Drake May, over the course of the season, was the second best quarterback against the blitz, and just had absolutely no answers for us. So, you know, it's always going to be a tough day for Sam Darnold when you're facing that much heat, but, you know, he evaded the sacks when he needed to, extended drives when he needed to, and ultimately played winning football. Didn't turn the ball over at all this postseason, which is, you know, nobody would have predicted that, right? You always thought Sam had a turnover or two in there, but completely clean football, and that's all we need from a franchise quarterback. If you've seen me, if you've seen our stuff, obviously we've been pretty arrogant winners, of course, when you're playing against the 49ers and the LA Rams, but, you know, against anybody else that's not in our division, I just want to give commiserations to the New England Patriots. I mean, what an absolute phenomenal turnaround, going from 4 wins, 13 losses to making the damn Super Bowl. I mean, that's completely and utterly impressive. And you could say, oh, the schedule, bro. Every year a great team that does great things in the postseason has an easy schedule. Like, it just happens all the time. It's not an anomaly. You know, maybe this year in particular is a bit easier than most, but, you know, I'm not going to take anything away from him for that. Drake May, phenomenal player. I mean, at 23 years old in his second year, he was one Justin Herbert first place vote away from winning the MVP. You know, that's how close the race was, as much as people don't want to admit it was. But as much as people want to talk about a 23-year-old being like, oh, he's horrible. See, he's horrible. But the reality is that Drake May was phenomenal. This offense was very good all year, and they just ran into a legendary defense. They ran into a buzzsaw, and they just weren't prepared for it. They don't have enough pieces. Their O-line struggled massively this postseason. They were not ready. They can't run the ball. They don't have receivers who can get separation against good defenses. And ultimately, you know, they just were never going to be prepared for this matchup. McDonald was scheming in a way that this offense and Drake May just hadn't seen before. I mean, like, it just looked like no matter what kind of window you had, there's someone there plugging it. The way that the defense was passing players off, they were just mixing man and zone principles all over the field. It's like you couldn't tell what the coverage was, and it was just too much for a young quarterback. I mean, you got to be in the league for a long time to, you know, really see and experience the kind of defensive looks that a team like the Seahawks, an elite defense, are going to give you, man. Guys like Matt Stafford are just more prepared for it. They've just been in the league longer. They have, you know, a better supporting cast to deal with it. And, you know, it was just too much for Drake May and the Patriots offense. Yeah, there were some times where guys got open, but most of the time the pressure had already hit home, you know, so it was just perfect execution from the Seahawks defense. And, you know, of course, Drake May could have played better. Of course, that whole entire offense could have played better. But, you know, at the end of the day, the Seahawks defense showed up, and that's why they lost the football game. And, you know, that's not to say that they're a bad football team. They got to the damn Super Bowl, you know. They should be extremely proud. And to say that, oh, Drake May and the Patriots offense are actually terrible is just taking away from the legendary Seahawks defense and what they were able to make that offense do. I mean, May and the Patriots had one of the more efficient offensive seasons. May had one of the more efficient quarterbacking seasons in recent memory. And the Seahawks just made them look completely out of depth. And that's a testament to the Seahawks defense, I think, more than it is to the abilities of the Patriots offense. But nonetheless, what an awesome Super Bowl. I was so happy I got to watch it from 4 a.m. in Europe. But nonetheless, man, it's something I'll never forget. And we finally have that vindication. We finally have our get back. And I'll see you guys in the podcast soon. Enjoy this Super Bowl win, fellas. Deuces.
Okay. I haven't watched it yet, so that was Brody's thoughts on the game. I hope.
Yeah, Brody doesn't know goddamn ball. What did we just watch? No, just kidding. But a little programming note as we're shifting toward wrapping up the episode. Brody will be back. He's returning from abroad, and he will be back next week for a whole new episode. Obviously, we'll have plenty of other things to talk about, but as we're wrapping up the podcast, we're going to just do some rapid fire of what's next. Obviously, everyone's probably prepping to go to the parade and still enjoy the moment, which you have every right to. Take work off, go celebrate. Buy your gear. Already bought my gear for me and my girlfriend, so I'm very excited to see that. So I
think one of the most proud moments I have this year is I had the shirt and hat. I had it purchased before the first commercial came up. I'm not kidding. After I was done with my smile ear to ear, I went to Fanatics and bought it before the first commercial came up.
And then actually before we shift off the Seahawks, it's time. It's time, J. Ross, to wash the Temu jersey. It's time.
Did I take it off my chair? It fell off. It's sitting right here. This is why we're Super Bowl champions. This boy right here.
I love it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. This boy, worn it. We have not lost a game since I've started wearing it. / have not washed it, but I don't know. This might be a good talk. Do I wash it? Is that bad?
I think it's time. It's the off season. We got to reset the mojo on it. I was pissed because I had a similar thing of I washed my jersey, but I wore my navy, and I wasn't able to wear my throwback all year because the throwback I wore during the Buccaneers and the 49ers game. So 2 losses. It just immediately was thrown to the wayside. So I hope next year I can kind of reset the mojo and be able to rock the throwback again. But it's time to wash it, J. Ross.
I was had to go out to my brother's, being a good family guy. Went out to my brother's soccer game in the morning and had to rock the retro. But as soon as we got back from his 9 a.m. game, that clock hit 11:30. Lucky jersey was on. We were not mixing anything up.
Yeah.
Routine is how you win championships. I was not mixing up the routine. And that's what championship fans have to do. The city of Seattle, we're going to learn these things because we've said it. We're officially turning into a title town.
Could be.
We are. We made it to the ALCS. This is step 1. We got ourselves a Super Bowl. Kraken are going to clinch a playoff spot. Sounders are going to turn it around. Just like that, we're going to be up there. And that's a fact. Okay?
Sounds good. I'll take your word for it. But as we kind of wrap up the episode, we're going to just do rapid fire. So go ahead, J. Ross. Just start us off with the Kraken. We'll go Kraken, Sounders, Mariners, and then our exit question for the episode. But go ahead. What's going on in the Kraken's world post Super Bowl 60?
Well, the Kraken world is on pause right now because, as most people probably know, this other sporting event, you might have heard of it, the Olympics, is going down right now over in Italy. And surprisingly, they were able to get the stadium up and running in time. The arena did get done.
Nice.
Albeit did not seem like it was going to, but the Italians pull it off. So that is impressive to do. And men's hockey is starting up this week. Women's hockey has already started. The U.S. started with a big win over Finland. Love to see it. On the men's side, sadly, no Kraken are playing for the United States, which not too surprised. But we do have 3 dudes that we can go cheer on over there in Italy. Philip Grubauer, the stud. Maybe he can steal a game for Germany and get them a win, but I would not have high expectations for that. And then Kaapo Kakko and Eli Tolvanen on Team Finland. They actually, Finland, they're always 2 steps behind the other big teams in terms of international hockey. But, I mean, they're plenty capable of pulling off an upset. But, I mean, outside of that, nothing really going down in Kraken world. Trade deadline is coming up after the Olympics, but right now there is a freeze. One thing we do need to mention, Kraken are willing to spend money. Rumor is out that we offered Artemi Panarin over $14 million a year.
Damn.
Kraken willing to drop the bag on the bread man, and I think that's a sign that after this freeze, we're swinging for the fences. And I think the fact that Panarin signed for the Kings, a team in our division, is putting more pressure on the Kraken, because if we look around the Pacific, the Kings now have their guy. That extends their window a little bit longer. The Ducks, they're young. They're upcoming. They're only going to get better. The Sharks, I mean, they have Macklin Celebrini, so they're going to be good for 15 years. And then the Oilers still have McJesus. And Vegas is Vegas, so they're not going anywhere. And right now, we are arguably in the worst division of hockey, and I don't think that's going to stay like that much longer. And I really
Well,
do think
wasn't Panarin traded though? When you say signed, was this
Sorry.
kind of a forced
Okay.
move or?
Yes, he had no trade clause, but it was already announced he was not going to go back to New York, and so Panarin straight up said it was Kings are going back to Russia. Like he did not care. He only wanted to play for the
Wow.
Kings, and so apparently the whole NHL was in on him. There was Hurricanes apparently shot him an offer. There were talks from going to Florida. Apparently Utah was in on him, but he had his mindset. He was pulling a Gretzky. He was going to go hang out in the Cali weather for a bit, and I
Got
mean,
it.
who can blame him, right? But
Got it. Not yet.
so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Panarin was the big fish in the market right at this deadline, but I really do think the Kraken are going to go out and get that big offensive threat. I don't know. I was kind of surprised when we saw Panarin. I kind of think that the Kraken biggest need is a pure goal scoring winger. Like there were talks of us going after Jason Robertson when he's a free agent, something of
Right.
that archetype. The last thing I'll talk about, because this was supposed to be rapid fire and I've turned it into 5 minutes of me yapping straight. They're supposedly, so it was already said that the Kraken are open to trading Shane Wright.
Right.
I don't remember who I saw tweet this. It was one of the big analysts. I'm not going to go search for it. Supposedly, we are open-ish to parting ways with Matty Beniers if it gets who we want.
No way. No. I'm putting my foot down, and like I said, our next episode will be able to cover a lot more Kraken during the Olympic freeze. No fucking way we trade Matty Beniers. No way. I don't care. No way.
Matty would that. I just think that's the trade he's one of the players, and it's because he was our first big draft pick, right? He was the first guy like the Kraken we're going to develop. He was going to be our superstar. He hasn't quite gotten all the way there yet, even though he's been on a bit of a heater. But he's just so likable where the fans just love him. And it's like, dude, don't do it, okay? We can get rid of some of the unks. Go get some of the unks to another team that want them. Hold on to our boy. So
don't do that. Our first
if we end up trading Shane Wright and Matty Beniers, my brain will just be so confused because you trade Shane Wright because you have Matty, and that's why Shane Wright can't move up in the lineup. So then if you trade Matty, all of a sudden there's room for Shane Wright.
Right.
I just don't understand. Please don't trade both of them. I will be sad. If Shane Wright has to go and we get in a legit first-line winger who could put the puck in the back of the net, I'll take it. But please don't take both of them away from us.
Yeah,
I'm happy. We're Super Bowl champions. Don't put a frown on my face. So I'm not going to think about that until Olympic hockey is over. One thing I will think about, because they are ramping up, we are, as we film this, 13 days till they are underway. The Sounders. And Sounders will be drafted once again. Once Brody gets back, season starts up, we will cover Sounders a ton. That's where me and Brody came from, covering straight Sounders. Basically, the one piece of news that it wasn't necessarily a shock, I would say, but kind of came out was supposedly Georgie Manungu, our new star boy, now that Obed Vargas is gone, is apparently getting offers from, I believe, Sweden for Hammarby, who are trying to buy Georgie from the Sounders. Supposedly, it would take a bag to pry him away from us. But the fact that I'm seeing those reports makes me so sad because it really felt like after this offseason at the AFCON, after what we saw from him last year, this is the opportunity for Georgie to really get legit minutes and prove why. For those of you who have not watched the Sounders, this dude is a freak. He is literally, in terms of MLS defenders, you cannot stop this guy when he isolates you 1v1 on the wing. And all he needed was a little bit of experience, get that game IQ up a little bit, find that end product, instead of aimlessly whipping the ball in, connecting the cross. And he's really starting to find that. And I think if we hold on to him, this guy could sell for so much. And you could just see him back home. He is a huge fan. He's loved. And it's just please, Seattle, don't sell him. And if you do sell him, it better be for so much. We already lost Obed, and I'm okay with that. But losing Obed and Georgie is just two players that I love watching play soccer, and not being able to watch them play soccer without having a replacement for them is just a direct shot to my heartstrings. So I'm
It
a Super
seems
Bowl
like
champion, so I'm gonna smile. But
it seems like as we are building up as Super Bowl champions, the Kraken and Sounders are just hinting at just blowing it all up and trading the youth in the pipeline to get some blockbuster moves. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Looking forward to covering more Sounders as we inch closer to their first match. But this is my time to shine. Mariners, I don't have much. We obviously have the official WBC rosters. I ordered my Team USA Cal Raleigh jersey that is coming from Nike, so that's going to be fire. 4th of July fit secured. So very, very excited for that. It looks like we have about 8 players playing in the WBC. So that was a little under my projection of who I would see out there. But spring training is starting very, very soon. Pitchers and catchers will be reporting this week as we are recording. So, we're going to see a little bit of a condensed spring training as guys start to trickle in and back to camp. All eyes are going to be on Colt Emerson now that the pathway is open. Buster Olney, a national baseball writer, has pretty high expectations, and that's going to be the immediate storyline out of camp is how well is this team going to run it back, but mostly what kind of impact can Colt Emerson have on the team. But I mean, other than that, it's just kind of wait and see, pray for no injuries, and just get back to ball. And shout out my dogs, freaking George Kirby. We had Cal, we had Brian, we had Naylor and his wife. They were all out there for the Super Bowl. We also had Julio. Julio was kind of doing his own thing. Like, Julio is still kind of a bachelor, so he doesn't really hang out with the girlfriends a lot, the player girlfriends. So he was kind of doing his own aura side quest. Maybe more there for the Bad Bunny concert, but dude, Josh Naylor was like, hell yeah, brother, give me some Seahawk football. And I cannot wait for that favorite to be returned to see, Devin Witherspoon and Sam Darnold and JSN, hopefully Kenneth Walker come to a couple Mariner games. It's going to be awesome next year.
are you surprised or bummed, or what's your reaction to Matt Brash not being in the WBC?
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Matt Brash, especially even when he was a starter, but I was surprised that Canada didn't give him the call, or maybe I'm not reading that right. Maybe he did turn it down. I know he had an up and down season with injury last year, and he maybe just wants to hone it in. And for that, I say, good for him. Maybe not put him in competitive environments right away. Let him rehab his arm post Tommy John. So yeah, I was surprised because I felt like, I don't know, looking at the Canadian team, they could use all the help they can get. Obviously, Josh Naylor being there, I'm just like, I hate it. Don't show me him in a Canada jersey. But yeah, I was very surprised, but I think it's just purely precautionary for injury.
You think it was? That's what I was wondering, if it was, don't want to risk getting hurt, because I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
I'll go look into it. But yeah, like I said, I think it was more of a, hey, I just fucked up my arm 2 years ago, and I had a kind of up and down year last year, but I fully expect him to slot into the 7th or 8th inning role for us again. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting not seeing him, but the less pitchers, the better. I don't know why the U.S. picked up Gabe Spire. All respect to him, but I don't know why. But it's nice to see no pitchers outside of Andres Munoz. Andres, please take care of yourself. But yeah, I love it. I wish our whole lineup was in there. I'm fucking hyped for Miles Mastrobuoni and Dom Canzone for Team Italy. I'm rooting for their asses. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I guess it's a good time then. Seattle sports is dying down. We'll let this podcast episode die down a little bit with our ending question. So I'll ask you a little teaser. Would you rather this be the start of a Seahawks three-peat, back-to-back-to-back Super Bowls, or would you rather have the Mariners win this World Series?
That's so tough because I feel like I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. I feel like this is the year the Mariners cracked the World Series, and right after we won the Super Bowl, I immediately said we're going back because, I mean, it's just basic math. I mean, nobody's leaving outside of Kenneth Walker. We get him back, but it's just like, this team's built for more than a one-year wonder. So I don't know, man. I guess I'll take the Mariner World Series, but I know we're going to win back-to-back. I know the Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl next year. Don't know if they're going to win, but they will be back. I guess I'll take the Mariner World Series to cap off we're able to do this in October of this year, that would mark the greatest year in Seattle sports history. Maybe the Sonics are sprinkled in to be coming back. Like that announcement will be there. Kraken.
Did you see it? Supposedly, the governor wasn't it the governor talked or met with Adam Silver and had some conversation. So supposedly, maybe the Sonics are on the rise, but how electric would that be? Now,
Dude,
if the Kraken can sneak
like,
in,
we're gonna have to change the colorway of this podcast a little bit, or like maybe I don't know. Yeah, that's gonna be a branding meeting for us because the Sonics don't necessarily have our colors. It's more Oregon colors, so we're gonna have to talk about that. But I will take Mariner World Series. What about you, J. Ross? What do you think?
oh, that's so pain. That's so.
You're gonna
I
say
think,
3-P, and it's okay. It's okay.
so. My initial gut reaction said Mariners, but I'm gonna say 3-peat because looking back on it, if we make some World Series and we just get stuck playing against the Dodgers, valid enough excuse to have to settle for 3 Super Bowls. So I'll take the 3 Super Bowls, but I'm gonna go on record and say this: the Seahawks are going back to back
for sure.
So, and this is not a bias Seahawks fan because I'm never biased overly in favor of Seattle sports. The way that we won this Super Bowl, it's repeatable. And I hate to circle back, but you know what? We won the Super Bowl, so we can end the episode talking about the Super Bowl. The way we won this Super Bowl is not like we were necessarily relying on a breakout insane season by a certain wide receiver. Because in the Super Bowl, JSN didn't have to go off, right?
Concussion.
Exactly.
Kind of crazy.
Why can't we run it back? So guess what? We are going to run it back. Timestamp this 59 minutes in to this episode filmed on Monday, February 9th, 2026. Congrats to the Seattle Seahawks on winning Super Bowl 61.
All right. That's a little much. I definitely think we're going to get back, but it's just going to be like, I don't know who are we playing next, but this team's special. And the connection to 12 is ones, mob ties, the dark side. The dark side's corny. I can't do it, but the dark side, it's great. It's surreal. And for many people, we won a Super Bowl in 2 drastically different parts of your life. I was 13 years old when we won our first Super Bowl, and now I'm heading to be 25 and completely on a life of my own. And it's just kind of interesting to reflect and just kind of go back. What I did all morning is I actually watched Super Bowl 48 every play. I didn't watch 49, didn't need the bad mojo. I watched the NFC title every game, every snap. But then I also, to incite the rage, I watched Super Bowl 40. Because I've never watched that game play by play, and that we got fucked in that game. But yeah, it's just a great nostalgic moment, and I hope we don't go 12 years in between Super Bowls again. But yeah, super hyped for Seattle.
Hopefully, we do not have to go 12 years between Super Bowls, but luckily, we only have to go 1 week between episodes. So, boys, if you like this episode, why not leave a like? Drop us a like, subscribe, boys. We're out on YouTube now. Our Spotify is blowing up, so keep going there.
Is it actually blowing up?
Yeah, it is. We're going to say it is.
It's freaking blowing up. We're trending on Spotify.
You know what? We don't care, though. We could have 1 subscriber. We could have 10 million subscribers. We still love every single one of you guys for following along in this mission to grow Seattle sports. Boys, thanks for tuning in. We're Super Bowl champions. You're Super Bowl champion. I hope you have a great week. Celebrate like no other. We will see you guys next week.
Let's go.